Good. Okay, perfect. Good evening, everyone. Hello, hello. Welcome back to Redefine Your Reality. I am excited that you could be here. I would love it if you take just a moment and put in the chat one thing that really resonated with you yesterday. So I know we all go to these sessions or master classes and workshops, and there's usually this one thought that just kind of keeps spinning with us. Maybe it's something that you know you're going to apply. Maybe it's something that you're like, I want to know more about this, but something that really resonated with you yesterday. Go ahead and put that in the chat. Yeah, we'll start there and let's see what's coming through. I know for one person I talked to, they were really sitting with this energy around, I get to be who I am and show up in full wherever I go. And I love that that resonated with them. I love that. I love it. All right, welcome everybody. Come on in, come on in. And we are just putting in the chat one thing that really resonated with you last night. So was there a thought or a concept, something that you walked away with that you are kind of keeping in mind, that you'd love to share and highlight? So I'll give you a little bit of a recap of what we did yesterday. So of course we got grounded in the experience of for redefining our reality. And then we went through our life of our dreams and we did a great visualization exercise there, where you had the opportunity um, to to experience the feeling of being connected to this life of your dreams. And we did some notes. And so now you have those notes as part of your roadmap to the life of your dreams. And you'll continue to build on those through your workbook across the next couple of days. I asked you the power question yesterday. Who were you before the world told you? And I know that was a favorite for someone yesterday. I think it was you, Pastor T. I think you might have said that was a favorite for you to reflect back on what you knew about yourself long ago that you may have forgotten, right? To reconnect to those desires that you had in your childhood and adolescence that are forming even who you are today. Because back then, when we had that innocence, we could really deeply connect to who we were intended to be. And so we connected back to that, and hopefully you continue doing the work in your workbook to help finalize your thoughts coming out of the session yesterday. We talked about constructing a new narrative and the power that is in your story and releasing what no longer serves you. And then we ended yesterday with a little bit of a teaser about life as an ecosystem, which is where we'll pick up in this session today. So we did a lot yesterday. And at the end of the session yesterday, I promised that on Friday, when we come back for the bonus session, at 7 p.m. that we'll have some time for Q&A. So if there are questions that you have that we don't get to tonight and tomorrow, then please know you can share those with us in advance. You can just send them right in the chat, send them to Tasha. And I don't know that I introduced Tasha yesterday, but let me just pause for a second. So you might hear me say Pastor T because Pastor Tasha Robinson is a whole pastor, y'all. And she is an amazing friend and sister, and also part of our Remarkably Me Enterprises team. I could not even know what I was doing, where I was going without her. And so I'm so grateful to have her with us tonight, representing the team. And so if you need anything, we are here for you. So thank you, Pastor Tasha, for being on tonight. And we appreciate you. And so you can put questions that you might have in the chat. Tasha will capture them for us, and then we'll make sure we bring them into the session on Friday. And so we'll go through and make sure that we've answered those because as you saw last night, we won't have a ton of time to answer questions here. Let me see. All right, so we have Bethany. Thank you for the share. The visualization exercise. Yes, the life of your dreams. And then the power of that. I love that. You said it's piqued your curiosity, uh, where you're standing, what you're doing, what you're looking at. Yes, the differences and the similarities piqued your curiosity. And that is so true. It's like there's so many pieces of this visualization that kind of like it grows as we grow. And then there's some things that are like truly like it is just going to be the standard thing because that is who you are. It's the life that you truly are creating for yourself. Ooh, I lost you all for a second. Okay, let me come back. So I love that. Continue to put your reflections in the chat of the things that stood out for you. And then let me quickly take you through the workbook answers yesterday because I really ran over them quick, fast, in a hurry. So if you go to your first page, The Life of Your Dreams, I'll read them off to you and you can capture them. To recognize the life of your dreams is to design it. In order to design it, we have to define who we are. All right. And then for number 2, to know what you want in life, you need to know what you want. We cannot have confusion around what it is that we are trying to accomplish, what we want our life to look like. We don't need to make it messy. The answer is right there in the question, just like it is for you to be super clear about what it is that you desire. So if you think for a moment, there's this thing about not being lukewarm, right? Some of you might know where that reference comes from. And what I would tell you is, like, we don't want to be lukewarm about the life of our dreams. We want to be absolutely crystal clear. And what my journey here is to help you do is to push yourself past the limits that you may be holding on to so that you dream a little bit bigger than what you have in the past. Number 3, when we create possibilities, we need them to be congruent. They have to make sense. We have to believe that they are possible. They need to be congruent with our vision. When who we are and why it matters are aligned, then we have congruence. So we want the who and the why to be aligned, and that gives us congruence. Number 4, we need to contrast our beliefs from what is really true. Eliminating beliefs that are not true open up a path to freedom. So you want to get to freedom? Get rid of the stuff that you are holding on to that is holding you back. Number 5, life is better when integrated. Integration is a process. Integrating our lives will allow us to show up more fully everywhere. So if you remember that piece about integration is you are a whole person and all of you deserves to be wherever it is that you want to show up. And you certainly get to create those boundaries for yourself. Like maybe there are parts of yourself that you just don't want to share in those certain spaces, and that's fine. Your choice is very different than you feeling like you can't show up the way that you desire to because other people won't allow you to. That's the part where you get to shift, you get to create a new narrative. And then if we want to move over to the page with who are you? So who were you before the world told you? Number 1, the answers are almost always in childhood. Number 2, going back to your childhood is like finding clues that help you connect to your earliest desires. What did you really desire when you were a child? These memories can lead you to your purpose. And I shared my story with you yesterday, and I talked about being wanting to be a flight attendant, which one of our participants here is I was a flight attendant, and what I loved about the idea of traveling on the plane was that I would get to see so many places. What I did not know, and I'm sure she would tell me this as one of my mom's best friends has told me, like, I didn't get to get off and go explore every place I went to, Anika. I was like, you mean you don't get to just stay wherever you go? Like, you should be able to stay there for like a week or so and then go back. And she's like, no, this is called work. I was like, oh. So I'm not sure that that's what deterred me, but I'm just saying, the travel thing was really encouraging to me. And I do love to travel, and it absolutely is a part of how I live my remarkable life. Number 3, your exploring your purpose is a lifelong journey. So I want to be clear that we don't stop building upon our purpose. And so as Bethany said in the chat, we're continuing to grow in our journey to purpose as we live each and every day. Number 4, narratives are stories we hold as true for ourselves. This may or may not have been created by us. So remember, we talked about how sometimes these narratives can be passed down, sometimes they can be products of the environments around us. Number five, false narratives need to be deconstructed. We want to get rid of those false narratives. What are you holding on to that is creating a limited reality for you when what you really have is an abundance of possibilities? We want to shift that, right? And to do that, we want to speak truth to ourselves and create new healthy narratives. So these were your answers. And if you missed any, you can put them in the chat and Tasha and I can circle back to them for you. But let's get ready to get into our session for tonight. If you are ready, we are going to journey into day 2. So I am going to pick back up on life as an ecosystem. We're going to talk about progress and process. Oh my gosh, progress as a process. Ooh, tongue tied. And then we're going to do an exercise called the release. And I cannot wait to get you into all of these pieces that we have for you tonight. So let's go ahead and jump in. All right. So, life as an ecosystem. So, what is an ecosystem? Perhaps when you think about an ecosystem, it takes you back to science class, right? Where you think about the ways that things are all interconnected together. And that is exactly what an ecosystem is. So, an ecosystem is defined as a complex network or an interconnected system. It also relates to the biological communities and how they connect, how the organisms connect to one another. And so I will tell you that if you go to your workbook on the page, progress is a process, your first answer might be ecosystem. So ecosystems are interconnected systems. Ecosystems have rules that guide things that work together, guide how things work together, just like life does. So why does this matter? We want to think about the interconnectedness of life as an ecosystem, because in an ecosystem, everything feeds everything else. And so if you think about it, for example, you have in nature, you have plants, right? And then you have the smaller like insects, and then you have small animals, and then you have larger animals. And so if you think of that as an ecosystem, the plants exist to give oxygen and food, and then the insects eat the plants, and the smaller animals eat the insects, and the larger animals, you know what I mean. And so we have the full cycle of life there. And I don't know if you've ever stopped to think about what the experience is like for your life to be connected in that way. If you think about the energy that you put into your body in the beginning of the day, it's going to feed you all throughout your workday, right? All throughout your life day, all throughout every experience that you have. So when you wake up in the morning, if you already are running low on energy, it is going to impact every single thing that you do throughout your day. If you supercharge your day by meditation, exercise, prayer, some self-care time, journaling, you start your day off with a clear, centered energy that helps to support you to have what you need to motor through the balance of your day. In the same way, the energy, how we show up, what our behavior is like, is going to carry us from one thing to the next. So to think that what I do at work doesn't have anything to do with who I am at home and how I show up, it just simply isn't true. We are always going to be the same person going through those spaces. We may only allow parts of ourselves to show, we may allow parts of ourselves to be present, but we are always going to be the same person. And what I would submit to you, if you've not thought about it, is that the energy that you spend on being a part of yourself, suppressing part of yourself, has an impact in the way that you show up. There is no question that when you show up in full, you get all of that energy, all of your life force, all of your gifts are able to be experienced and leveraged in whatever experience you're in. The best value that I've ever been able to give at work has always come from allowing my full self to be present, which includes bringing the part of me that hears from God, bringing the part of me that is deeply inquisitive, bringing the part of me that is very much based in believing in faith and trust. And so when I show up in those ways, I have a different impact on the experience that I'm in. Ecosystems have rules. And so one of the things that I want you to think about is that there is that relationship that we've talked about means things have to be mutually beneficial. So there has to be a benefit for parts of the ecosystem to want to be connected. So how might you begin to think about what you experience at work, at home, within your relationships, in your family, in your community? How might you begin to think about the value that you're giving in those individual places as being mutually beneficial to the next place? Let me give you an example. If any of you have ever done a development program, perhaps at work, some kind of course that you took to strengthen your skill, well, by nature of what you're doing, you don't only hold those smarts, right? That learning for that particular instance. It now becomes a part of how you think and how you move through the world. So by nature of what you do, if you are learning and growing, it's going to have an impact everywhere. Coming out of this session at the end of day 3 or the end of the bonus day, some of the thoughts that you have been sitting with, some decisions that you will make, those things are going to have a beautiful impact on the people around you. You'll be able to share insights and thoughts with them that perhaps they hadn't thought about, that maybe you hadn't thought about, right? So we don't leave the things that we learn and the decisions we make, the values that evolve as important in our life to just sit in one particular area. Wherever you go, there you are. Wherever you go, there you are. So the question is, how will you leverage all of the beauty of who you are in all of the spaces that you go into? And what we want to be able to do is to find the connective tissue, the thing that threads all of the things in the ecosystem together to make sense. So if I pause for a second and I think about being remarkable, right? I will tell you a little bit more about that later on tonight, but remarkable is a word that sits with me. It is a defining word from me, and it's something that God graced me with. And it is the name of my business, it's the name of my podcast. It shows up in all of these different places. And I really design the life that I live to be a remarkable life, as I mentioned last night. And so it's a thread that goes through the ecosystem of my life. I'm always thinking about how I can make things more remarkable. How can it honor the definition of what I want in my remarkable life? And when things don't fit, I have to make a decision. What can I do to influence whatever's not fitting to fit into my definition of the life that I desire? Or do I have to make a change? Do I have to choose something else? The other thing that's really important for us to do is to have evolving definitions. And so I think this page is really fun. And if we kind of take a look at it for a moment, it's like we tend to have these words that have heft and weight for us. Perhaps they were things that we were told in childhood. Maybe they're things that we experienced and we hold on to them in our bodies as trauma. This first word that you see in that top left-hand box was a really, really, really big one for me to overcome. And I will tell you, I still, every now and then, it still rears its head for me. But it was like the fear of failure was so massive for me. And what I recognized as I started to do my healing work is that there were a lot of times where I experienced rejection early in life. And they were things that I categorized as rejection. They may not have been intended to be rejection by the people that they came from, but that's how I chose to store it in my life, in my memory, in my experience. I categorized it as rejection. And so I also experienced a lot of success in my life, in my younger years, as well as throughout the rest of my life. And so success for me came connected to that feeling of relationship. So I was like, if I'm successful, I'm accepted, I belong. So that means I have to guard success with everything I have. As long as I was succeeding, I believed I wouldn't be rejected. So if I had to make a decision to avoid rejection at all costs so I could always have the feeling of belonging. It wasn't necessarily success that was so important to me, it's what success gave me, which was that feeling of being connected and seen and recognized and cared about and welcomed by other people. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this is right. I'm just telling you this is my story. This is my real story of what my experiences have been. And when success was the thing that I focused on, there are two significant things that happened. First and foremost, I lost control of the definition of what success was. And that's really, really important because losing control of the definition of success means that the other people who are, looking at whatever it is that you're doing now have the decision of whether or not you are successful. So think about that for a moment. Think about going into a presentation that you've worked really, really hard on and you're ready, you're delivering it, and you are not able to say to yourself, well, that felt good. Like I succeeded. Because you're looking at everybody else in the room like, did you think it was okay? You think it was okay? Do you think it was okay? And so imagine that times X amount of times that I presented a week and every conversation that I went into with other people and what I thought, what my ex-husband thought about whether or not what I was doing was up to his expectation and what my children thought, etc., so forth. Are you exhausted yet? Because I was. Looking to other people for their definition of success meant that I was waiting for them to tell me if I was okay, as opposed to knowing it in my own soul. The other thing that happened to me is I became really less tolerant of risk. So what that looked like in practice is now every time I'm going to do something that looks like it can be risk related, I am researching it until I'm almost in analysis paralysis. Ooh, did you guys lose me? Can you still see my screen? Okay, something happened on my end with my screen. Let me fix that. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. So I got to a place of almost analysis paralysis. It made me not want to take big risks anymore. It made me want to stay safe all the time, which is a problem if what you really, really want in your heart is to grow. And so in hindsight, the easier thing would have been for me to change my definition and relationship with failing. Because had I done that, had I separated this feeling of failing, this fear of failure from meaning I won't belong, everything could have been different. And that's exactly what I did. What I realized about failure, the truth of it is it is not this thing that we learned about in school that made you feel like like you're at the bottom of the barrel or whatever. It's not this thing of like somehow this one event is going to happen and it is going to tear up every possibility that you ever have to be great, because that is not true either. You can rebound from a lot of things. We've seen people rebound from incredible experiences in the first half of their life and grow on to be incredible people who do things that change the world. So we know it's not really true that one failure is going to make, or one thing that we perceive or call failure is going to make us a failure in life. But somehow that concept was really well ingrained in me. So changing it looks like what you see on the screen. So I went from failure to, wait a minute, what if I consider that this really is just a stopping point? This is a momentary state in the process of me getting to the success that I desire. To moving into seeing failure as the truth of what it is. It's learning. When something happens and it doesn't go the way that I have decided it should, I haven't failed. It's an opportunity for me to learn, and it's a place for change. What I redefined risk as in my life is innovation. So if I allow myself to push all of the risk off to the side, I will never create anything new. And I am all about creating things that are new and creating change and creating new experiences, new ways to see things. So actually the aversion to risk was actually standing in the way of what I truly desire to do and bring to the world. And then there's this other thing about risk, is that with great risk, there's great reward, right? Which you see on the screen. I want to have reward. I want to grow. I want to be able to create new things through innovation. And so therefore, I had to change that definition. Risk has to feel different for me. It has to be something that I embrace. And then success for me means growth. So I think about, what am I doing to persevere as I go through this thing? Because if I can look at the perseverance I'm showing in a journey, then I will not be so set on what success has to look like at the end in order for me to feel good about it. And I won't look to validation, which was a really big limiting narrative for me, because now I have replaced validation with my own agreement. How do I feel about what I have done? Am I satisfied with who I am being? That's what it means for me. And so if I would direct you now to take a look at your workbook. So if you go to number 2, let's see, sorry. Oh, not there yet. Sorry, one more page and then one more slide and then we'll go to number 2. So I want you to think about the ways in which you can evolve these definitions as we go through the way you look at progress, because this is a big deal. Progress is messy. It always is messy. And if you look at the 3 roads that are before you, right, they could all be the same distance. But if you had to pick, if I said, I'm going to take you on a trip and you can pick any of these 3 roads, I don't even have to ask you to put it in the chat. I know everybody is picking number 1. If you want something where you know that you are not going to get lost, you've never been there before, and you're going to hit the goal that you accomplished, that looks like the way that you're going to get there. And the reality is, you can get there through any of these, but the journey is going to be different, right? And the truth is, we don't always know what kind of path is up ahead of us. So instead of focusing on what the path might be, like that last path with all the fog and all of that stuff going through it, it looks like it might be a little sketchy at times, right? But what we can do is we can use what we have control over to create clarity in the midst of the messy. If you've ever gone through the experience of moving, I think this is such a salient one, right? That is that you can picture in your mind. At some point, you got to unpack the boxes. And if you have 5, 10 boxes in one room and you decide to unpack them all at a time, you may know where you want all of these things to go in this new space. But if I were to walk in there, I probably would think it's a mess. I probably would think, oh my gosh, like I wouldn't even know how to help you. Like, where do these things go? But the truth is, the reason that you know, like you can stay calm in the midst of all that is because you have a plan. You have a very clear goal. You got some realistic mile markers. You know what it is going to look like as you go through the journey to hit the places that you want to go to. And quite frankly, when you are in the midst of messy, like number 2 and number 3 on those roads, you gotta have some milestones where you know you're going to celebrate. I don't know about you, but in a lot of my journey, I have been someone who waits until the end to celebrate. And I can tell you that it is not as motivating as we may have been taught. And I'm going to say been taught because I believe that a lot of these things are things that are learned, that we've experienced in school and in families and otherwise, as opposed to the truth of what really exists. What's more motivating is to celebrate as you go. Let me prove it to you. Think about the last time you saw a baby who was just beginning to crawl and walk. What happens? Every time they stand up, the parent squeals with joy. They hold on to something, they take a step, the parent squeals with joy. They fall. The parent's like, oh, it's okay, stand up. They get up, they get another applause. Do you see what I'm saying? When we reinforce this energy around celebrating to encourage the continued behavior. When we don't have milestones along our journey of life, it is super easy for us to get distracted and to feel overwhelmed and to become disconnected with whether or not we can really make it to the end. Again, you can make it to your goal at any of these roads. And because you don't always get to choose the road that you're going down, what you can do is create the clarity for yourself. So I want you to really think about this. I want you to think about the ways in which you create clarity for yourself. How do you establish goals? Where do you write them? How often do you look at them? Do you make them realistic? What things are the intermediate steps that you have to get to your goal? And how will you celebrate along the journey? Because those things will keep you going. So if you go to number 2 now, it says progress is often messy. It's important to measure your progress. That's what we're talking about with these mile markers, right? Clarity around your goals is key. All right. So just like the progress, the journey that we're on in life, progress is a process, so is healing. And if I think about the story that I shared with you, like this piece of like, how do I avoid rejection at all costs? The narratives that I held are the things that kept me bound to this fear of having to navigate through or overcome failing. So I created all of these other things to cope with the potential of failure. I worked twice as hard. I stayed up all night to build things. I did all of these things to try to make sure that everybody had what they needed. And by the way, I did it at a time where I created overwhelm, stress, and anxiety for myself, which compounded over time and over more time and over more time. And not only did it build in that way, but it also got to a point where I no longer really truly knew who I was. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. The funny thing about all of this is while I was working hard to perform and have everything right and avoid failure at all costs, the people who were around me needed me to be human. They needed me to be a real, whole person. The people who I worked with on my teams who reported to me, they needed me to be human. They needed me to be real. They needed me to connect. They needed to know it was okay to be their human self going through whatever it was that they were experiencing. And when we are so caught up in trying to live in this persona, we forget that other people are taking their cues from us. So not only is it not a great way for us to live, but it certainly doesn't do any favors to the other people around us. And so part of these things create narratives for us that we then have to undo. My narrative was like, well, if I'm not successful like this, then who would I be? Well, why do I have to define success this way? There goes the shift in the narrative. A lot of times we can't see that there's a linkage between all of the stories that are happening. But just like in my example of failure, look at how many other things were connected. It's where the external validation came from. It's where my workaholism came from. It's where my perfectionism came into play. It's like all of these things. And now I've woven such a tight web that's like, but if I allow myself to fall short at any time, the whole thing might come crumbling down. And if you have ever felt that way, please know that you are not alone. Because not only I and my therapist has validated it for me, and many of the people that I coach and support have validated it as well as a part of their journey. This is a lot of what we've gone through. But I am here to tell you, it is not the only option for you. I also want you to know that as you go through healing, it's a process. It is a process. It's a process. It's a process. And why that matters is that when you heal something, you're going to find that some new things are revealed. And when the new things are revealed, guess what happens? There might be some new triggers that come up. There are levels to healing. And so as you go through your journey, through the process, you're going to find yourself at moments where you're like, I thought I already worked through this. And it's like, you did. And because you worked through it, you're stronger now and you're more prepared to handle it this time. But you still need to see where this particular trigger is connecting back to, and whether or not there's a string with a narrative on the other end that needs to be changed. So we go through this process to help us to create new perspective that helps us to stand clear in the truth of who we are. Our perspective are the tools, and truth are the tools that we use to address our challenges. But know that it doesn't happen overnight. Know that it is something that we do over time. And I want you to know that the journey to release narratives that you have been holding, it's a process, but you can do it. You can deconstruct them, you can change them, you can remove them. And we're going to do a bit of that tonight. So I am going to take you into an exercise, and I'm going to set up the exercise for you. There are a couple questions that you'll want to answer in your workbook after we come back from the exercise, but let me tell you a little bit about what's going to happen. So I'm going to take you into some breath work, and then we're going to go into a guided imagery. And we come out of the guided imagery, I'm going to show you something really cool. That is the first time I've ever shown in a space like this. And then I will give you some time to journal a bit on this exercise that we call the release. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a moment. And I encourage you all to just get at a point where you allow the day to just wash away, where you allow yourself to be here present now. And we're going to go into a quiet space in our minds and our hearts. I encourage you to allow your eyes to find a soft gaze or to begin to close. And we're going to do what is called 4-7-8 breathing. And so we're going to do a couple of repetitions. I'll ask that you continue the repetitions as I lead you through the guided imagery, which is really some affirmations that I'm going to lead you through in a moment. And you will do the 4-7-8 breathing by breathing in for a count of 4 through your nose. You'll hold the breath for the count of 7 and release it for a count of 8. And I'll do the first couple of rounds with you so that you get the pattern, and then we'll go from there. If anyone has any discomfort holding your breath, please know it is fine for you. It will be just as effective for you to experience a guided imagery, just allowing your breath to be at its regular pace. So don't feel that you have to do the 4-7-8 breathing, but I'll tell you a little bit why it's so beneficial when we come back after the exercise. So do whatever is most comfortable for you, the right thing to do, honor your body. And if you are settled in, eyes closed and relaxed, we will start the breathing. And you'll breathe in through your nose, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and exhale through the mouth, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Continue the breathing as we go into the exercise. I'm holding space for you because you are a survivor. And I want to invite you to hold space for yourself at this moment. I don't know everything there is to know about your story, but I do know that you have survived. I do know that you have emerged in life through the things that have held you back. Life has not been always easy for you, but it has been everything that you've needed to be here in this moment. Today we get to shift our mindset to see what we have lived through, what is now the fuel that propels us to the new version of ourselves. I'm holding space for the inner child or your younger self who is a warrior, who made sense of all the old narratives and found her way through. I'm holding space for all of the moments where you didn't know what you needed or how to fix what you did not know was broken. I'm holding space for every old narrative and limiting belief that you thought was real and true. We know more today than we have ever known about ourselves in the past, and we are grateful. We are grateful that with every breath, our real and true selves are being revealed. We are grateful that we have choice and that we are choosing ourselves. We are love, we are loving, and we are loved. We are healing, and we deserve healing. We are healed. We are free, and we deserve freedom. We are free. And as you are ready, you can allow your breathing to return to its regular pattern and go ahead and begin to wiggle your fingers and toes and come back into the space. And you can open your eyes. Now, what I am going to show you, having just come out of this experience, I'm going to share something with you. I had it at an angle and you can kind of see it. Let me turn my screen off for a second so that you can see this. So this is a painting. Let me bring it a little closer in. This is a painting that I did a while ago, and it is called The Release. And this painting is really precious to me. First and foremost, I found that when I was in COVID, I started painting and I could only draw stick figures. And so I will tell you that I was pretty impressed with the fact that I could actually paint and make it something that was like, I have a couple paintings hanging in my house, right? I am still not great at painting people, so which is why you see the woman in the painting who looks a little bit like she could be maybe from somewhere else. But I will tell you that this painting has a ton of significance for me. Everything that I painted through that time were things that like divinely came to me. And so this one is really precious to me. And I'm going to show you what this painting means in video. This is kind of cool. So let's see. So let's start with over here. So in this bottom left corner, you see some rocks. They are rocks. They're boulders, right? And they say words like hurt and self-worth and anxiety and fear and validation. There are a ton of words that I was carrying around with me in my pocket. And what God showed me one morning in a vision was me standing on a balcony, and I was pulling these rocks out of my pocket. It was first I didn't know they were rocks. I was pulling these things out of my pocket and I was putting it to my mouth and then lifting it up into the air, and it was like turning into stardust. And I was like, what am I doing? And so I kept seeing this vision over and over again. And then when I went to paint, this is what I painted. So here I am, here we are on this beautiful balcony that's been created for us. And we get to choose to take the rocks, the boulders, these things that have been in our pockets, and instead of being angry when we hold them, we get to put them in our hands, give them a kiss, have gratitude, and lift them up to God, thanking God for the challenge, for the tribulations, for the things that have helped to mold us into who we are today. We get to release them with grace. And what I've tried to depict here, it's hard for you to see it on full screen, but if you look right above her head, there's the little things that look like stars, right? So what I saw is that as I kissed this rock and I sent it off with love, thanking it for the lessons that it gave me, from who it helped me become, that it turned into this butterfly and floated up and returned to me as stardust coming back into me. Like there's something about this cycle of taking the things that were hard in my life and knowing that they're coming back to me as grace. They're coming back to me as favor. They're coming back to me as blessings. And so that is what I encourage you to think about as you go to the next page in your workbook right now and spend the next couple of minutes. I'll give you about 3 or 4 minutes to just think about some things that you would write on those rocks. What are the things that you want to release? What are the things with love that you want to say tonight? I've carried this long enough, and it no longer defines the future ahead of me. It has given me great lessons. It's helped me to become who I am, and I no longer have to carry it in this way. Now I can allow God to take this thing and to turn it into something beautiful that gets to be a part of the essence of who I am and no longer gets to be a weight that I carry in my pocket. So I will give you a couple of minutes to go ahead and write it on the page called The Release. And I will let you know when it is time. What are you choosing to release with love and gratitude tonight? What are you choosing to embrace? just about one more minute. If you haven't already moved on to what are you choosing to receive with gratitude and love? One of the big things for me was receiving peace. And I can genuinely say that I really do understand what is meant by peace that surpasses all understanding. The peace that I live in this life is one that could never be taken away from me. What I know about peace is that whenever I don't feel peace's presence, it's because I have let it go, not because someone can take it from me. I chose joy back in 2020 when I was changing all of the things in my life. I was looking for joy. My very best friend in the world asked me what brought me joy, and I couldn't answer. And I cried about that for about a month, and I'm not exaggerating. Every time I would think about the fact that I wasn't sure what brought me joy, I would say, of course, my family, and I like the work that I do and those things. But that deep-seated joy, like I get up in the morning to be this person, it was missing. And so the journey over the last several years has helped me connect with more joy than I even knew was imagined, that it was possible to hold. And I desire for you to have that kind of joy in your life as well. So let's talk about, as we wrap up, let me quickly take you back while you're in your workbook. Let's go back to question number 3, which is we test out new narratives to explore the newly revealed truth. I don't know if I can now not read anymore. I'm all in the release. And number 4, as we heal, we'll experience tests. Old triggers will arise. We get to apply our new perspective and truth as we address the challenge. Then we'll experience our actively healing self. And that's what we want to desire. That's who we want to be for the rest of our lives, to be actively healing all of the time. And I want to talk to you now. I hope you enjoyed that experience. Feel free to put an emoji in the chat. I can't see the chat now, but I'll come back and look later. But an emoji of how you felt going through the experience of the release, and then writing for yourself things that you are going to let go. I'll pause and just encourage you to really think about what you put on this workbook page for yourself, to really meditate on those things. What choices will you make to support you in continuing to release? I know for me, fear, which is one of the ones you saw on the stone, it happens to be on that side of the painting that you could see on the screen. It is a continual process to release fear for me. It wasn't one and done. It was like, I'm done with fear and it's gone, right? Because there's some memory stored in my body connected to fear that I have to continuously work to release and to let go. And so you might find some of those things. So consider journaling about what you have chosen to release and to receive as we go through the next several days. And perhaps for the rest of the month of October might be beneficial for you. So I want to talk about how to accelerate your journey. And, when we think about everything that we're doing here is around redefining our reality. So it's what's possible and the possibilities that are bigger than perhaps what we thought about before we came onto the call last night. And so we know that we hold these narratives, these things that have been context for our lives that may or may not have been created by us and may or may not have been fitting, right? And so now we're releasing them so that we can embrace what's new and embrace what it is that we really want and desire in our life. And I want you to think about a process. I'm going to share my weight loss journey with you. Losing weight is definitely a process. And if anyone has ever been through that journey, I will tell you it is complex more than I thought. I'm like, well, don't I just diet like when I was in college and like everything's good? Like, no. There were so many things attached to this weight loss journey. I had no idea when I started on it that it would require all of what it did. But imagine what happens if you lose weight, but you keep eating the same way. Imagine if you exercise 5 times a week, but you didn't lose any weight. Imagine losing a lot of weight, but still wearing the same old clothes. Now, for each of those things, you're like, don't do that. Why would you do that? No, no, like sensibly, people lose weight and they don't want to get a new wardrobe, right? And part of that mindset might be like, well, I'm going to keep on losing. And so I'm waiting until I get there. Or, I don't want to waste these, I guess, as long as I could still wear it and make it look good. But something happened to change your body. How are you saying yes to the change if you're still allowing yourself to sit in the past? I was definitely one of those people for all of those things, right? And so losing weight, but not changing all of my habits, like I didn't spend time understanding what habits were really contributing to my weight loss. And so I yo-yoed back and forth until the time came where I decided I'm going to do this for something that is a compelling reason for me. And that reason had a lot to do with travel. Story for another day. But across that time frame, I lost 70 pounds. It was about a year and a half, almost 2 years, but 70 pounds. And that was not just about losing weight, physical weight. It was changing so many things. For me, my relationship with God grew. I was really clear about what I wanted. I shared it with my tribe. My family was like, we're not going on the journey with you, but how can we support you? And I'm like, you got to eat differently, right? And we got to snack differently. And so even though they didn't follow exactly what I did, I meal prepped for myself and I still, made meals for them. And then those meals became healthier, which was really good for them as well, right? I had a therapist, my general practitioner was on board. I utilized a weight loss clinic. I had a weight loss champion, a wellness champion at work who checked in on me and actually gave me exercises. I engaged everybody I knew. And I told my team at the time that I was going through this weight loss journey. They were cheering me on. And what happened as a result is that we stopped having sweets and things like that when we had our meeting rooms. We worked in the ice cream business, by the way. And so we stopped having all of that stuff and we brought healthy snacks. We brought almonds and we brought grapes and we had fruit and all of these things whenever we would have our team meetings because everyone wanted to support the mindset. How many times have you decided to make a change in your life and you do it by yourself and then you're like, why am I not getting traction? I'll wait because I already know the answer. We're like, yeah, this is not working. Let me change it, but let me not tell anybody. Why do we do that? Because then how can they support you? That's like someone on a sobriety journey who's going out to dinner with a group of women every week, every Friday night, and everybody's drinking. Like, how are you supporting your friend in the journey? At least have a conversation to say, is this behavior okay, right? Does it support you in what you're trying to do? Because when people love you, they want to see you win. And if you engage them in the journey and you tell them why it matters to you, typically they will help you. And let's talk about the elephant in the room for a moment. Some people might not help you because they like you the way you are. Your change might be upsetting what is the continuum for them that they want to maintain. And in those cases, you got to just know those might not be the people that you bring in to the journey as your cheering squad. But you might need to level set with them that there are going to be some new boundaries, some things that are different, because that will then help you to ensure that you're being clear with them about your change. One of the big reasons that we don't share changes when we're going through them is that we are afraid we are not going to be successful. And if we don't tell anybody that we tried, then they cannot hold us accountable if we fall short. We don't look bad. We don't want to make a mistake. We don't like all of those things. But here's the problem. That same narrative and mindset is now going to stand in the way of you ever having the life you want. If I worried about the 1,900,000 times that I did some kind of diet or some kind of exercise regimen and then went back to my old behaviors, I would still be 70 pounds heavier than I am today, perhaps even more. It was worth the risk. It was worth it. So you have to assemble the right team. You got to know who are the people who are going to be with you on this journey that want to see your life get to this newly defined life of your dreams that you really want to live. Who are the people you know are going to be in the boat with you? For the people you're not sure are going to be in the boat with you, what are the things that they can do that will help support you? What are some of the ways in which they might be able to show up for you? That maybe it's not all the way there, but at least you're seeing some progress. And who are the people that you're like, okay, I'll tell you about it when I win. That's okay too. But just be really clear and don't allow yourself to do this move in isolation, because you cannot change your entire life and think that it's not going to impact people around you. You want to know the best thing about building my remarkable life? They all got it too. There's not a person in my circle that did not benefit from my change. Some didn't like the benefit. Like perhaps if it was somebody I was married to that I'm no longer married to, that may not have been the benefit that they wanted. But what I can tell you is that even though they might not have said they were unhappy, they would have been really unhappy with the me that I am today. Because the way that I operate, centering myself, getting clear about what I want, being able to articulate what's important to me, was not who I was when I was married. So there would have been friction there, right? My children live remarkable lives. They love it. I have a son who's 16 who has a clothing brand and a design business. And he's in advanced placement classes and all of this other stuff. He is remarkable. He's free to be who he is. My daughter is a prophet. She hears from God and she knows that she walks in this anointing and she's free. Because I'm free, they are free. Everybody got to be free because I embrace the life that I am meant to live. So we got to have a foundation. We need clear principles. We got to have an unshakable vision of what we want. And that goes back to what I told you yesterday. We create the life, but we got to keep seeing that vision over and over and over again. You know, one of the things that I say over and over to myself, and I'm going to tell you this today, I am a New York Times best-selling author with 1 million copies sold in year one. I say it to myself almost every single day. And you all are like, oh, I didn't know she wrote a book, because I didn't. I mean, I did, but it's not published yet. It's with the publisher. I told Pastor Tasha right before we started the call that it went out to 25 different publishers today. But long before I finished the book, I was declaring that I am a New York Times bestselling author. I have an unshakable vision of what that looks like for me, because I will be. And it's one of many books to write to help people on their path to their purpose, on their path to healing. I can't wait to be able to share the book with y'all. I can't wait. So here's the thing. All of this hinges on something really important. You gotta have a plan. You gotta have a plan. You gotta know how you are going to be able to do these things. And could you get to the journey without the right team, without the right foundation, without the principles, without the unshakable vision, without the plan that works? Yes, you could. You could get there. It would take you a lot longer without those things, but you could get there. You might meander a bit, but you could get there. You might have to refocus yourself several times without a clear vision, but you could get there. You might get there by happenstance. You might get there when you're 90. Those are choices. But if you want to accelerate your journey, this is how you do it. And with that, I am excited because I get to share something with you. You are the first people outside of my team to ever see this in life. This is a beautiful, beautiful offering that I'm going to share with you tonight. And as I said to you last night, everything that I do is a move of God. It is all about what God has shown me. It is all about what God desires. And what's really cool, I mentioned these quickly last night, but that God gave me these 10 keys to living a remarkable life. And I put them into a cohort course. which is a 10-week course that I'm going to talk to you about a bit tonight. And this will be the first time that I'm sharing it. So I'm really excited that all of you are here and have the opportunity to hear about this. So I want you to just imagine for yourself the way that you created the vision over the last couple of days. I want you to think about the clarity that you left with last night about what's possible for you. And I know that even as you've gone through the session tonight, you're seeing more of it and you're hearing things that are connecting you to why it matters to you. And it's starting to sink down in the core of who you are because you know your truth. You know what it is that you want. So this ability to see yourselves differently, this is exactly what this course is designed to do. It's about you creating, defining your vision and creating the compelling future that I've been talking about for the last 2 days that is really aligned with who you are at your core. Because when we can get down into the truth of who we are connected to our core, then we know we are living out our purpose and we know we can experience life more abundantly. And I am here to tell you that that also comes with ease. The one thing I probably omitted earlier when I was talking about this, the life as an ecosystem, is that when you are operating from all these different parts of yourself, it's work to keep that up. It's like over here, I don't talk about this, but I do talk about these 3 things. Well, I don't really say this and I don't show up this way. And it's like, but why? But why? Now that I know what it's like to live in my truth, I won't choose another way. I won't. And I also understand how difficult it was to get there. Trust me. And it's part of why I do the work that I do with my clients to help them connect to their truth because I feel it deeply. I know how hard it was for me to see myself differently and to begin to say yes to it. And I believe that's why my experience had the depth that it did, so that I can hold space for people when they are deep in trying to figure it out for themselves. But tapping into your truth is all about connecting to your inner wisdom, to your spirituality, to gain clarity and gain direction. You have gifts, and how you bring them to life matters to you and to others, as we talked about last night. So what we do in the Remarkable Life Playbook are some exercises around values, vision, strengthening your connection to your spiritual center. We do deep dive more into life as an ecosystem so that you can really understand how to actually make your life feel integrated. So if you wanted more tonight, as I was talking about life as an ecosystem, this is the place where you can get that. For some of you, this might even mean that you are reconnecting to parts of yourself that you have rejected. So in some cases, you might have been like, I was like, yeah, I hear from God, but like, I don't know what to do with that. So I'm just going to sit that over there. Well, the truth is, it is part of who I am. It's my superpower. And so I had to do work to reconnect with why I wanted to reject that, why I needed to embrace it so that I could show up as my full and true self. We do work to help you discover your purpose. So some of you might know, like, I know my purpose and I'm living into it. Some of you might say, I'm living into parts of it, but I want to understand it in its entirety. How can I bring it all together? And so we do work on that, how to connect to your passion, how to align your actions with the things that you genuinely value. And as you can probably tell, healing is really important to me. It is a core part of my purpose, as I shared with you last night. And I help people heal. I help people move past the limiting beliefs that they have, address the wounds that they've experienced in the past so that they can create space for personal growth and healing. So in the Remarkable Life Playbook, we get clear on what is your purpose, why is that purpose your defined purpose, and what do you need to do so that you can design the life of your dreams. I have a intuitive coaching session that is called Soul to Crown, Crown to Soul, where I work with clients intuitively to help them connect to their truth, to understand who they are. It comes through divinely, and they walk away with greater clarity of purpose. And that there is an intuitive coaching session, the Soul to Crown, Crown to Soul session, that is included in this playbook. We also go into patterns of healing as another part of the program through an exercise that I call the healing blueprint. Of course, we address fear and we talk about that from a place of change. So, I am a certified change practitioner. I do a lot of work around change from the work that I do in consulting with organizations and obviously in the work that I do with my clients, right? And so, there's a lot of these pieces around how we can move away from doubt and questioning ourselves to release fear and allow ourselves to become more buoyant when it comes to change, more flexible about changing. And a lot of that has to do with these deep-seated beliefs that we have of ourselves and younger experiences that we have to excavate in order to be able to really release fear and allow it to stay away. The other thing that feel like I am very adept to teach because it's how I live my life is how to address fear when it rises up again. Because you will need some tools to combat it until it becomes your way of thinking, that these new narratives are part of your makeup. We also do work on creating healthy boundaries and then understanding what it looks like to create belonging for yourself, which is less about the belonging that comes from others, but it's really about grounding yourself in your own sense of belonging. And when you create that, again, it's like I mentioned with a moment ago around peace. You're creating these narratives for yourself that remind you you belong wherever you are, and so no longer are you waiting for others to say that you belong. We work on cultivating curiosity, which is all about embracing a new mindset and being open to different experiences and perspectives. We do a lot of sessions on gratitude, and part of the 10-week cohort, there's some self-guided lessons that you'll experience that are specifically around cultivating gratitude and rest. And this is all about us being able to move from the state of overwhelm, navigate stress better, and embrace increased well-being. So these are some of the things that I think are so critically important for us to know and to deepen as we look at the life of our dreams. Now, I mentioned that the keys to a remarkable life, that there are 10 of them. There are 7 of them that I would typically teach in a self-directed cohort. This a self-directed course. This is actually a cohort. And in the cohort, we do the bonus 10 keys. So keys 8 through 10. And we also have the opportunity to do it in an environment where we're in a private community. So this experience has weekly sessions that I lead. There are 3 self-directed trainings that you will go through during the course of the 10-week course, and you also have replay access. What I love about the private community is that we operate in a community that I have already established, and it's run off of the Mighty Networks platform, and everything is there. You go into the platform and you have all of your course materials, our Zooms are there, all of the events are listed there, and there's an opportunity for you to engage with one another as you're going through the journey across the 10-week cohort. So the cohort starts on November 7th. And it goes through January 16th. The sessions are held in the evening on Thursdays. And again, you have access to the replays through the length of the course. So this is what the course includes. There are 7 facilitator-led sessions facilitated by me, 3 self-directed modules. There are some guided imageries, which you've had an opportunity to sample a couple of those last night and tonight, and some visualization tools. You get your Remarkable Playbook workbook, the keys to a remarkable life, and of course, as I mentioned, the intuitive coaching session is included as well. So you might be thinking to yourself, like, what is this investment? I will tell you that as we looked at this program and we look at all of the components, we look at what it looks like to work with me from an individual coaching and advisorship capacity. And the value of the program is at $7,500. The really cool thing about this, as I told you before, is that this is our inaugural cohort. So this is the first cohort. So of course we have to go big. So we set the investment for this program at $5,000. That is what it will run for beginning in January of 2025. The rate that we have established for this masterclass and for this cohort, the initial cohort, is $3,500. What's really cool about you being here to redefine your reality is this. We have a paid in full fast action bonus where we're dropping the price to 3,000 for those of you that are interested and ready to sign up now. So you save $500 off of the price that we will offer this course for this year. And again, it starts on November 7th. And in addition to the savings, we also have included 2 micro coaching sessions. And let me tell you about the micro coaching sessions. So those sessions are 25-minute sessions designed to go deeper in a particular area. So on one of the keys, right? And so let's say, for example, you've sat through the content on purpose, you've been doing the purpose work, but you feel like there's still something missing for you to be able to crystallize your purpose. You may want to have that micro coaching session with me where we just go deep on how, now that you know from our Soul to Crown session, you have a clearer vision of what your purpose is. You've been doing the work in the course. Now you have an opportunity to understand what it looks like to actually bring your purpose into life as you live it today. So, for example, sometimes there are people who have their defined purpose, but they recognize, well, I can't do that for my job, but I want to bring it to life in some way. And so we can spend time looking at how you craft a way for you to fulfill your purpose without having to change your job or change everything in your life. There are always ways that you can realize your purpose through what you're already doing. And I can provide the linkage to that. So you can pick any of the topics that you want to go deeper on. And it's a one-on-one micro coaching session that you have with me, and you get 2 of them. So you can pick 2 areas of the cohort, the 10-week content that you want to go deeper on. And then we do that during the course of the course. So that gives you a total savings of $850 off of what anyone else can purchase this program for. And if you see on the screen, there is a QR code in the bottom left corner. You can click that to sign up. You can also reach out to Tasha. I believe that she has dropped the link in the chat. So you can use that as well to go to the site. You can read more about the program there and use that code LIFE500 for the bonus. This pricing, the fast action bonus and everything ends on Friday night at 11:59 p.m. So I know for some of you, you might want to think about it, and you are welcome to do that through Friday end of day, 11:59 p.m. And then the pricing will be at $3,500, and our carts close for this event on Sunday night at 11:59. One other thing that we wanted to share with you, so we do have a financing partner. So if anyone's interested but would like to explore what a financing option would look like, we have a financing partner that works with a bunch of different lenders. They're 100% approval guarantee. It's a soft pull on your credit, so it does not impact your credit score when you are going to see what you qualify for. And then if you choose to go with one of the lenders they recommend, they show you all of the rates, what repayment would look like, all of those different things. And so we can drop that chat for you, that link for you in the chat as well, if that's something you're interested in. And if you do decide that you want to go the financing route, that also would qualify for the paid in full bonus as long as you get in before 11:59 on Friday night. So there is a lot here, and I am grateful. I know that you have stayed over a couple of minutes with me. I will try and wrap it up quickly. But before I go into our wrap up, I just want to ask you this question. I want you to think about what your life looks like in October of 2025. What experiences do you want to have had between now and then? Where do you want to be? What's the proximity to the life of your dreams that you desire? Do you have a plan? Because if not, this is an opportunity for you to create that plan. Do you have a team? If not, this is an opportunity for you to get really clear on who is on that team and to have some expertise leading and guiding you along the way. What could it mean to you in your life to be more activated in your gifting? What could it mean to be more clear about your purpose? How could it change the trajectory of your legacy if you were closer to living the life of your dreams? Think about those things as we close tonight and as you get ready to journal. So on the screen, there is a page in your workbook that looks just like this picture on the right-hand side. It's called It's All About the Words, and this is a homework assignment. So I'm teeing it up, even though we won't talk about it till tomorrow. What this is, very simply, is a page that we would like you to capture for the next 24 hours, the words that you say or think about yourself, and the words that you hear others say about you. Capture them in the spaces on the page in your workbook. And you want to capture them without judgment. This is not about like, oh, I said that, that I was silly or not thinking clearly, or I'm procrastinating, or whatever things you might say about yourself. It's not about judgment. It's just to capture them. You're going to want to capture them in their entirety, because when we go through the exercise tomorrow, it's going to help you create some linkage. And what I promise you is that it will help you reveal some areas for you that you may not be aware of that can be connected to work that you can do to help yourself heal. So that is your assignment for tonight. Circle anything that is repetitive. So if someone in your life is saying something to you over and over and over again, and you wrote it on there, whether it's good, whether it's neutral, or it's not the things you want to hear, circle it, because we want to see the things that are coming up as emerging themes, right? So capture those things, and tomorrow we'll work through that exercise as a part of day 3. So we had a great day together in day 2. We did life as an ecosystem. We talked about progress as a process. We did the experience around the release. Thank you for joining me in the journey, and thank you for loving on my painting. And I'm going to encourage you to just spend a couple of minutes in journal, so you capture the learnings for tonight. For those of you that are interested in taking the next step on the journey with me, I would love to have you. And you can take the time now to go to the link and go ahead and join. I am going to stop sharing so I can come back into the room. Tasha, I'm going to ask if you will stop recording. And we'll play our closing song for tonight. Last night I played the song and it tried to block our video replay from coming up. So I want to make sure we stop the recording.